Sure.
Definitely.
I actually, initially I was offered that as VP. There were four platforms which are offered. So there's the Defense Council, which Major Aditi leads. That one, the Diversity and Inclusion one, the publishing one, which Raj leads. She leads the one. So I chose that one. So I am part of Wiki, the vice president of the publishing council.
Brilliant. So we will work together. And we are live now. We've got our viewers watching us. Everybody, good evening. Very happy and honored to share with you. On the screen, we have squadron leader Delshad Master, and she's going to be talking to us about women at the forefront of inclusion. As you can see, she's got it behind her also, but now she wants to put it in front of us. So over to you, Delshad.
Thank you so very much. And before I start, I would like to make a small dedication. Tomorrow is my father's birthday. That's his 84th birthday. And I would just like to say happy birthday, Dad. And this speech is dedicated to you because you have made me the woman that I am today. So, with this, once again, wish you a very happy birthday, and I hope you enjoy this when you get to listen to it. William Wallace once said that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Well, I say it's time for us to rule the world, whether or not we may have rocked the cradle. My dear sisters, did you know that we actually outnumber men as per the latest UN population division census? We then are probably the world's only majority that is even today struggling to feel included. Do you see the irony here? With us being discriminated against ourselves, how can we and why should we lead the fight to a more inclusive world? Well, the answer is very simple. Because we know best where the shoe pinches. And therefore, no matter how many men stand before us, exuding compassion, sympathy, understanding, they still could not have slipped into our shoes. And most of the times, it's not even their fault. Being a man automatically bestows certain privileges and prerogatives upon you simply by birth. Your views of the world then are through those tinted lenses of privilege. So, no matter how high your sympathy quotient, your shoes will most often be lined with velvet, and therefore you shall never really realize where the shoe pinches most. For centuries, women have faced oppression and discrimination simply back then when they were the only class. Although considered inferior, they were still considered a necessity and therefore they had to be born. In fact, right here in India, the struggle of a female fetus begins even before she has had a chance to take her first breath. Even if she survives that ordeal of birth, whether it's giving it or receiving it, she lives the rest of her life being made to believe that she is inferior, weaker, or of little consequence, barring household chores and childbirth. Unfortunately, it is invariably her own kind, other women, that have led the way in propagating her misery, her inferiority, and subjugation. Again, do you see the irony? We are probably the only class of discriminated citizens that propagate discrimination even among ourselves. And finally, the ultimate irony. These hands, the head, and the heart that births, nurtures, cares for, and brings up the male of the species ends up being subjugated by that very gender. How is it that the ones that hold the key to propagation and multiplication of the species are themselves made to feel inadequate and be like lesser beings? The ironies, the ironies of it all couldn't have been starker and more glaring. And although the discrimination might vary in degree, intensity, and nature, unfortunately it exists universally. Here is a majority, us, that have been subjugated for far too long, so much so that it has wreaked havoc with our psyche, leading us to believe in our subpar status. So when the odds are stacked so highly up against us, who do you think is going to come and rescue us? Certainly not the very people who put us there in the first place. And if we then need to be our own knights in shining armor, it would definitely help if we shed our crab mentality and pull up each other instead. Learn to pick each other up and take each other along the way to inclusion. Now, let me share with you stories of a few common, ordinary women that you may not even have heard of. And there is a reason I share this with you. I'll tell you about it towards the end. The first woman that I would like to speak about is Miss Madhu Singhal. Now, Miss Madhu Singhal was born and raised and spent the large part of her childhood in Haryana. With great encouragement from her parents, she attended school and learnt Braille. Yes, my sisters, she was born blind. So she learnt Braille in after school hours. And she was such a self-driven child that while other students would take notes with paper and pen, Madhu would quickly take notes in Braille. Not just that, when she grew up, because of her love for classical music, she even went on to do her masters in Hindustani classical music. Now, Madhu could very comfortably have taken up a government job, had a cushy life, exploited the quota for people with disabilities and lived a very comfortable life. But that was not what Madhu chose to do. Madhu not only pulled herself up, she pulled others up too. Encouraged by her brother-in-law, Madhu set up an audio library right from his garage in Bangalore. When she realized that she could not get across to the locals here, she took the trouble to learn Kannada from a Kannadiga friend of hers. In 1990, she established Mitra Jyoti. Today, it has grown from strength to strength. She has established a talking library, independent living skills. She teaches independent living skills at Mitra Jyoti. She cares about women's empowerment. She also skills the visually impaired in computer training. For all of this, she has received numerous awards, the primary among them being an honorary doctorate from the Bijapur University and the President's Award for Empowerment of People with Disabilities in 2008. Now, Madhu is a woman who could have sulked, cursed her fate, at the most made the most of her disability by getting herself a cushy job and living a comfortable life. But instead, she chose to be a change agent for people of her tribe, establishing, as I said, a talking library, independent living skills training center, a Braille transcription center, a computer training center, and a women's empowerment cell within the confines of her NGO Mitra Jyoti. Needless to say that since 1990, she has touched, strengthened, and pulled up lakhs like her. She was not only her knight in shining armor, she has been that knight for many other men and women. The second lady I would like to talk to you about is Miss Jyoti Dhawale. Now, Miss Jyoti Dhawale was born into sufficient privilege. She was the daughter of a now retired group captain of the Indian Air Force. Unfortunately for her, while she had a regular birth and a wonderful childhood, a freak accident in Pahalgam at the age of 3 lent her deaf for life. Not just that, after she was declared deaf, Jyoti still had the zest to live and grow like any normal child. So she learned to lip read and lived her life comfortably until in 2005 tragedy struck again. And Jyoti accidentally, due to sheer medical negligence, when she was forced by her husband to undergo her third abortion, she contracted HIV. Fortunately for her, in 2006, she gave birth to a healthy HIV negative baby boy. Once again, cursing life and living under the radar would have been, oh, so comfortable and easy. But Jyoti, true to her name, chose to be the light at the end of the tunnel for several others after her. Today, she is an out and proud person living with HIV, an out and proud ally for the LGBTQ community, a strong AIDS activist, having funded her movement PLWHA, which stands for People Living with HIV and AIDS. She's also a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, and a global ambassador for the Well Project for HIV and women. Through her work, her inspiring social media presence, she has touched thousands of lives and served as an inspiration to very many men and women living under what was once believed to be the trauma of AIDS. The third and final woman that I'd like to speak to you about is Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. By far, the most famous among the women that I choose to speak of today. Lakshmi is a trans woman who chose not to be limited by others' judgments, prejudices, and opinions about her. Lakshmi is a transgender rights activist, a Bollywood actress, a Bharatanatyam dancer, choreographer, and motivational speaker. But this isn't why I speak of her. I mention her here because she has been the first trans woman to have given other trans women a life of dignity and self-worth. Above all her credentials, to me the most significant hat that she dons is that of an entrepreneur. Because through that, she has helped create jobs for many of her tribe's women who can now make a decent living without indulging in begging, sex work, and humiliation of all sorts. She started Kinneer, a factory to produce and sell bottled mineral water that employs only trans women. This has impacted their lives immeasurably, and they now live with pride and a sense of purpose. Now, why do I tell you all these stories, and why did I choose these women to speak of? It was largely to demonstrate that no matter in what circumstances you're born, no matter what upheavals life throws at you, or how badly society chooses to write you off, you can be your own knights in shining armor. No man may come riding on a white steed to sweep you off your feet and rescue you out of your misery. Get on that horse yourself and learn to ride if you wish to change your fortune. But most importantly, once you have learned to do that, never forget to lift and pull up others along the way. The beauty of carving a wonderful life for yourself lies in doing the same for others as well. A path you create for yourself will only last you your lifetime. You and your path shall dissolve into nothingness and be forgotten soon after. But when you create and leave behind a legacy by carrying others along on your path, you just don't leave footprints in the sand. You carve out a path in stone for several others to tread on even after you are long gone. And finally, before I close, let me once again reiterate why women should be leading inclusion. Inclusion to me is nothing but carrying people along, making a change even if it is one life at a time. And women have been doing this since ages. We are natural nurturers, caregivers, aiming to do the best for people that we love. All we need to do now is to expand the circle gradually and bring into our fold one person at a time. And trust me when I say that you shall never run out of love. Love is limitless. What's needed is for us to push our limits a little by little. Begin making a difference in others' lives. It doesn't matter where you start, what your scale, and how long you take. Simply pick something you're good at or love doing and see how you could change someone else's life with that skill, knowledge, or opportunity. And finally, to close, let me borrow a line from Jyoti Dhavale. She says, and this is what she'd want her epitaph to read: I don't see why we can't all have a similar one. She says, here lies a woman who lived life in such a way that she didn't die in vain. Let's all have that epitaph for ourselves too. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Dilshad. I think as a woman, I have never felt unequal because I think I've been very privileged. But it's wonderful that you know what you spoke about the ladies, in spite of the challenges, how they have achieved, and what you are helping people and different sources that you're using to make a difference. Really, hats off to all of you, and lots of blessings to you for all the great work and the effort that you are doing. Especially the Women Economic Forum is it's a pleasure to give you the award of exceptional leader of excellence. So fabulous work done, Dilshad, and wish you all the very best in your efforts. God bless you. Take care. Thank you.